All right, so hi everyone. My name is Lena Castanos and I will be moderating today's webinar. I will begin by introducing the Capital Pathways program, then I will introduce myself and give the word to our guest speaker, Jamie Diane, who will introduce herself and take us through a hands-on presentation on QuickBooks. Feel free to ask any questions you may have using the chat function. And if there are any questions that we cannot get to during this webinar, we are happy to address them through our one-on-one no-cost services or connect you to resources that can help. We will share a recording of this presentation and slides after this webinar. All right, I will share my screen now. So what is the Capital Pathways program? The Capital Pathways Program is a program that is funded by the U.S. Treasury SSBCI initiative, and it's sponsored by the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity and hosted by the Virginia SBDC and George Mason University. We can start with the program overview, then move to eligibility for the program, and finalize with the services it offers. The Capital Pathways program is a no-cost, specialized SBDC program that helps small business build the systems and habits needed to become capital ready. Why does it matter? Being capital ready matters because those less prepared self-select out or fail loan applications. Early failures correlate to lack of adequate capital. Higher cost alternatives don't build long-term capacity, and only half of requested amounts reach small businesses. And about 25% of small businesses need access to financing for growth and preserving cash flow, but only 20 to 30% of them are actually approved for those loans that apply actually get approved. So it's very important to be capital ready. So the program, the Capital Pathways program, creates a path to financial and legal readiness. It is focused on the financial and legal sides of the business, and it provides an immersive and hands-on group experience combined and paired with a one-on-one approach with our advisors. Who is eligible? In short, very small businesses at any stage facing challenges accessing traditional financing. Those what defines very small business, it's any business that has fewer than 10 employees, and they must be actively looking for financing. So our program, it provides a tailored approach to helping small business access financing to grow and expand business opportunity. It has an assessment, self-assessment during the intake process that helps us pinpoint your gaps and provide tailored support for you. It also has three tracks: the legal structure validation track, the financial skills and tools track, and the loan application readiness track. The legal structure validation track will go into more detail, but we are partnering with a law firm that can help with more complex legal situations. We also have business advisors that can help with a more basic legal questions. Then there's the financial track that offers boot camps and one-on-one support. and the loan application readiness track that also provides webinars and one-on-one support. All of these you can take at any order, and you can take just one or several. Everything is tailored to what you need. So we can go into detail with the assessment. The guided self-assessment helps us pinpoint the gaps that your business has. Then we can evaluate your needs and refer you to the other resources if you don't qualify or you don't meet our criteria. Or if you do, which is the case with most of our clients, we can provide a tailored approach to your business needs. Then the legal structure validation piece, as I mentioned earlier, we are partnering with a law firm that can provide more complex legal support with business registration, trademarks, and contracts and agreement reviews. Also, our advisors can provide more basic legal support that doesn't require an attorney. Then the financial webinars, we have several ones. We have the business financial basics that took place a few days ago, and we will be repeating it. It's called Organizing Your Finances. Then there's the financial statement preparation that is taking place next month. I encourage you to look at our website for more of these webinars. And of course, the QuickBooks training that Jamie is going to walk us through today. Our one-on-one support is meant to be tailored for your business, but we also understand that some business owners don't know where to start. So we offer an average of a 7-week boot camp to get you capital ready, and that involves going through your business foundations, profitability and pricing, financial forecasting, financing options and readiness, financial statements and tools, and loan readiness and lender prep. And then there's the loan application readiness track, and that offers some webinars, like one that we will be offering next month in September, what lenders look for in loan applications. Another one that will be coming up in October that has a more interactive approach with breakout rooms and where we will go into detail. We will be providing some exercises and mock loan interviews. And then another one, which actually we have next Tuesday, September 2nd, on SBA loan options. We have a partnership with a lender that can also provide one-on-one advising, and again, no cost to the client. This is my information. You can also scan the QR code here to get started. I will also be including this in the chat, and both the website and my email, so that you can reach out for an intake call if you're interested in some of our services, especially our one-on-one support. All right. Just a little, I guess I never talked about my background before giving it over to Jamie. I am Lina Castanos. I have experience with access to capital and small business support services, both domestically and internationally. And I am both the leader of this program and one of the advisors. So it's great to have you on board, and I will give it over to Jamie Diane now. Thank you so much, Jamie, for this presentation, and we look forward to it.
Thank you, Lena. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to QuickBooks 101. I am excited to be here with you all today. I used to be a teacher in my past life, and this is how I get to spread a little bit of teaching through the accounting space and the small business space. Currently, I own a bookkeeping business called Balanced Bookkeeping based out of Charlottesville, Virginia, but we work with people all over the US, which is really exciting. And I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. And so I'm here today to help you all get the foundations of QuickBooks Online and be able to start keeping better track of your business finances. So today is meant to be very hands-on and interactive. So you'll see on Lena's slide right there, we're going to be using QuickBooks Test Drive. So this is very similar to your own QuickBooks Online file. If you do have your own QuickBooks Online, you may use that. But I honestly prefer using the test drive. Then you can make mistakes. You can really test the boundaries of QuickBooks without having the repercussions of making a mistake and having to fix it, right? So if you type in, well, I guess first let's split our screen, right? I want you to be watching what I'm doing, but then I'm going to give you about 3 to 5 minutes after I introduce a certain section of QuickBooks for you to physically do it. So we go ahead and go to the test drive. You can Google QuickBooks test drive. It will get you there as well. Yes, I will put it also. Let me grab it. Here we go. I'll put it in the chat box as well. Where did you all go? Here we go. All right, the link is there for you. Go ahead and get set up, and I'm going to get in there as well. Oh, Lena, will you unshare so I can share?
Of course.
Thank you.
And I will allow you to share too. Let me know if it works.
Yep, I'm good. All right. Hopefully everyone can see. This is Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. That is going to be our guinea pig today. Good old QuickBooks Online. Also, I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. QuickBooks Online is currently rebranding all of their good old QuickBooks stuff and dashboard and whole software. So if you're in your own QuickBooks and it looks a little different than this is still the older version. They haven't created a test drive for the newer one, but largely it all works the same way. Things might just be in a slightly different space, but bear with me until QuickBooks creates the new version of the test drive. So when you log in, this is your dashboard. And as you can see, there is a lot going on here, right? They want to make it really easy for you to get wherever you need to go. But with that being said, there's a lot to look at. And so you have your basic dashboard here, right? It's going to tell you over here in tasks, anything that you have outstanding, right? So if you have, yikes, 10 people haven't paid your invoices, right? We might need to follow up here. Overdue bills, categorizing your transactions. This might be a nice little to-do list for you when you log in. You can also customize your shortcuts. So say you're using Square and you don't create invoices in QuickBooks, we can use these pen shortcuts to get rid of whatever you don't do, right? I really emphasize take your time to customize this now so that you have greater efficiency for the years and years ahead while you're using this software. You can see your bank accounts, a quick at a glance of what your bank balances are at. a quick profit and loss. These are all too you can click into to dig deeper into them. So I can click in here to see what my $7,000 of income was from. Okay. So again, I'm going to give you a little bit of time in just a few moments to explore this, but I want to show you a couple of other areas on this initial dashboard. So over here on the left-hand side, this black toolbar, this is, to me, this is your true navigator, okay? Transactions, this is where most of you are going to hang out with your monthly workflow. This is where we're going to connect our bank feeds. This is where we're going to reconcile. This is where we're going to set up our chart of accounts. We're going to go into all of these areas in a little bit. Okay, I'm sure you have questions. Your sales, right? This is anything like any revenue that you're bringing in would come through here. Your expenses, obviously, we know what expenses are. But again, right, this is, again, overwhelming. There's a lot going on. Maybe I'm not budgeting. Maybe I'm a solopreneur and don't have payroll yet. Again, I want you to customize, okay? All the way at the bottom left-hand side, you can click menu settings. Again, that pen is going to let me customize. I don't have payroll. I don't need to track time. I don't have a budget. I don't need a lender, right? Go ahead and make this look with only the information that you actually need, okay? Two other areas. The plus new up here in the upper left-hand corner, this is where you'll be able to add any new information to QuickBooks. So this is, if again, you'll notice lots of different places to get to the same place, right? So invoicing, I can add an invoice here. I can add a bill here. Journal entries, which we're going to be talking about in QuickBooks 201. This is a pretty important thing. This is where we would add those journal entries. So the plus new is for adding any new information to your QuickBooks file. The last place I want to show you on your dashboard is over to the right-hand corner, and this is your gear, excuse me, gear icon. Here is more of the back-end information on your QuickBooks, okay? I highly, highly recommend that you write down for homework to go through the accounts and settings section of this gear, okay? You have lots of different other tabs here. This is where you're going to set up all of your invoicing. So sales is where you're going to set up all of your invoicing terms. You can set things up so that they're so automated. It's wonderful, right? You can set your message. If your brand doesn't sound like QuickBooks' brand, you can customize so that when you send invoices, when you send reminders, that it sounds like your brand. You can set up automated reminders on your invoicing in here. So many things that are going to help you to work smarter and not harder. All right. So I definitely want you to explore the accounts and settings, but more so, right? Look at your billing, right? Are you using everything that your subscription offers? If not, downgrade. QuickBooks is getting really expensive. I don't want you all paying more money than you need to. All right. So here is our first 3-minute little break, right? I want you to explore your dashboard. See if you can customize. What are you going to be using in QuickBooks? Get rid of everything that you're not. Click into some of these areas and see where it takes you. Check out what's going on your black toolbar. All right. Also, I failed to say, because we have such a large audience today, please put questions in the chat box that are relevant to what we're exploring at right now. If you have a question about something that we're not touching upon, we'll have time at the end to go and do any of those outliers that I failed to mention. Okay, so go ahead and take the next 3 minutes and explore, and I will answer any questions related to the dashboard. Okay. All right, so Brian, I see that you're saying that your test drive is defaulting to your business. You have to log out of your business completely and then be able to click, so like log into regular QuickBooks, sign out, and then you should be able to go to the test drive. They do default to you using your own QuickBooks Online, if you're logged in. I just put the test drive link in there again. All right.
Someone is asking if you can show again how to delete unneeded items or eliminate tasks.
Sure, yes. So this pen right here, this is where you're able to either add or eliminate some of your default toolbars. So if you're creating lots of journal entries, like let's add that to be a tab that you can click to directly from your toolbar. And then now we have this to be able to click to. Same over here, customize this menu. That pen is how we're going to adjust. If you have items in your task list, you can hide it completely if this doesn't pertain to you, right? Otherwise, there's probably something that needs addressing, right? If something's overdue. So I'd want to make sure to go in and adjust what's going on rather than just disregarding, right, what's going on here. All right, one more moment. Again, QuickBooks is trying to be that one-stop shop for every business, right? We want this to look like your business. So feel free. Oh, another thing, right? You can bookmark up here too. So if you want something to be right at the top, like I like how Craig has done bank transactions, that's where you're going to want to go often, right? Let's have that be there. I also think reconciling, right? That's part of our monthly workflow. Let's add that so that now I can just click on those two buttons. All right.
Someone is
Yeah. Oh,
asking, can you have multiple companies through QuickBooks or do you need separate logins?
great question. So best practice is that you should be having one QuickBooks file for every EIN you have. If you have a DBA underneath your business, there are some options like using classes and locations to separate your business finances for the two different entities. However, you really should have two QuickBooks files. That being said, I have seen many a business owners who have very separate businesses that we make it work with one file. But if you want to follow the rules, you should have one. I mean, have one for each. Yeah. All right, we're going to keep rolling. So then the first real place we're going to be going to today is your chart of accounts. So again, to get to your chart of accounts, we're going to go to transactions and your chart of accounts. All right. So your chart of accounts is truly the skeleton of your business finances, right? If something's out of place, you're going to be going to the doctors, you're going to be paying your CPA lots of money to help get your QuickBooks file, your financial reports in balance and in accuracy, right? And so this is absolutely positively the first thing you want to do within your QuickBooks file. So when you sign up for QuickBooks, they're going to ask you some questions like, what is your industry? What is your business structure? How do you typically use QuickBooks, or how do you typically invoice? What do you need QuickBooks for? And based on your answers, right? Do you have payroll? They're going to create a template for you of what your chart of accounts should look like. Now, When they do this, they almost always give you way, way, way too many accounts, right? They basically say, oh, you're a restaurant. Let me give you everything a restaurant could possibly spend money on or receive revenue for. And instead of keeping the 150 to 200 accounts that they're going to release on you, you want to take this and turn it into a really brief summary of who your business is as a financial business. Okay, that let me rephrase. We want to be able to see a complete financial picture of your business by reading through this chart of accounts. Okay, if you are a new business, I would say like 75 accounts is probably sufficient for you, or less. Okay. There are 5 different types of accounts that we have within business finances. We have assets, right? These are things that we own that we could use to pay for debts, for anything. These are your banks. This is your inventory. If you have an inventory-based business, this could be vehicles. This could be buildings that you own. This could be loans that you have passed out to others, right? Then we go down to liabilities. These are your credit cards. These are your outstanding bills, your accounts payable. These are your loans that you might have. Sales tax is a liability. If you collect and remit sales tax, that's a liability until you send it to the state, to your county. Then we have equity. Equity is all of the money that you as the owner or partner put into your business and take out of your business. Income, all of the different ways that you're generating revenue. This is a little overwhelming, all of his. When we do set up your income accounts, we want you to be able to make informed decisions from them, right? So for me, owning a bookkeeping firm, I have my recurring sales, I have my one-time sales, and then I have my consulting fees. To me, that is informative to help me make decisions of how my business is going. This might be really helpful for Craig to be able to see all of the different types of income that are coming in for him, right? Just don't go too crazy. This is a little bit much if you ask me. And then we have our expenses, right? How are you spending your money to keep your business running? So if you are selling a product, we obviously want to be keeping track of your cost of goods sold so we can see that gross income margin. And then if you're more of a service-based business, we want to see your operating expenses, right? Where are you spending your money? Okay. Like I mentioned, QuickBooks is going to be adding lots and lots and lots of accounts for you. We want to eliminate anything that we are not using, okay? So to do that, you can do it in bulk, in like batch actions, where we can click several at the same time, scroll back up to the top, and make it active. All right. Oh, great. Well, that didn't work. Let's see. Unexpected error occurred while accessing or saving your data. So this looks like a QuickBooks problem, but this normally works. So you can do it one off, right? Clicking, coming over to this down arrow and make inactive. Let's see if this one works. That one worked. Okay. What I also say, make this look like your business today, right? Not what you hope your business looks like in 5 years. You can adjust this as needed as you grow and develop. If, say, I didn't have an accountant, right, for legal and professional fees today, but I have one a year ahead, right, moving forward, you can click on this gear icon. Sorry, Lena's head's in the way. Include it active. I can go back to find the accounting, right, and make it active again. And now it's back on my books. You can also choose to adjust the naming, right? Maybe I don't have a bookkeeper, but I have a business coach. I can edit this instead of having to make an active and create a new one. I can change this to coach, click save, and now I have this as one of the legal and professional fees that I'm paying monthly, right? So again, we want this to be like this. Craig has already customized this. His is pretty nice already, but I'm sure that when you log into yours, you're going to see that a lot is not relevant to you. Okay, so go ahead and experiment with your chart of accounts. Try making some inactive, try changing some names. You can also create new accounts up here where you'll add the name. Let's say I have continued education, right? That is an expense. I'm going to choose the detailed type of office, and now it's going to be added. Now, another option that people like to do is you can make sub-accounts to basically put everything that is alike together. So if you think about the legal and professional, right? Under legal and professional, I had coach, accounting, and bookkeeping, right? That's another option that you have to keep things organized. So here's another example, right? Job materials, decks, fountains, plants, sprinklers, right? People like to do this for like office expenses, having all those lumped together, cost of goods sold, having all those lumped together. You really have a lot of freedom to design this however you feel like your business looks financially. Okay, go ahead and take 3 minutes to explore the chart of accounts. And I'll go back to the questions. I see Alessia, I believe that's how you pronounce your name. Yes, so that test drive is active always. So that's a great resource to use, especially if you're exploring with certain new new what's the word, functions for QuickBooks, right? Like if you're going to try bill pay or you want to try invoicing, go back to this test drive and practice it on Craig before you do it in your own. Okay, that's a great question. Hope, great question. So Hope says, if I signed up for QuickBooks and already have all my transactions loaded, is it easier to edit the account types from here as opposed to doing it at the transaction level? Or does it not make a difference? Yeah, so here's the deal. You don't want to make an active accounts that have transactions in them, right? Obviously, then they would be, where would those transactions go, right? What it would show on your profit and loss balance sheet, it would say deleted in parentheses. But that's not helpful, right? We want it to be in whatever the new home is. An option you have is that you can also merge accounts. So this is kind of like QuickBooks 201, but I'm going to show you real quick. So say this was still bookkeeping and this is accounting, right? And I just want to have one accounting. I'm going to put bookkeeper, accountant, CPA, whatever in just this accounting. I'm trying to be really brief, right? Succinct. I can change this because this has all my bookkeeping expenses for 2024 already in here. I can combine them, merge them. The way you do it is you have to have everything be exactly the same. So the exact same name with capitals and periods, lowercase, the same account type, and the same detail type. And so if I change this, I'm going to go to edit, accounting, right? Expenses, legal and professional fees, sub-account. Now this should, yes. So now it's telling me you already have an account with this name. Would you like to merge the two? I can merge them, save again. And now this one's gone, right? Because all of my stuff is in here. Okay. So if you already had those separate accounts, right, merging them together, now everything is housed under the accounting. So that's an option that you have too. That's probably the safest route to take. I hope that answered your question. All right, so for homework, right, you're going to go into the gear, accounts and settings, and really go through all of that stuff. And then you're going to set up your chart of accounts so that it truly reads like your business. Once you have that all set up, now we need to link your banks, right? And so we're going to be going to the bank transactions tab. So I have this as an option up here, but I also, this trusty one, right? Transactions, bank transactions. I swear everything that you need, truly almost everything you need is in the transaction. So I'm going to go to bank transactions. And so this looks a little bit different than yours will initially, right? Because you don't have any banks set up yet. But when you come in, it will ask you, it will prompt you to link your bank accounts. And that's what we want to do. If you've already linked some, but you need to link more, you would click on where it says link account. Because this is the test drive, it's obviously not going to let us link anything, but you would click your bank. You would put in your online username and password, and then it will prompt you to name the account and when you would like your transactions to come in from. Okay. I highly recommend that you choose from the start of the year that you are currently in. So if I were to link something new, I'm going to link it from January 1st, 2025, right? And it's going to bring in all of my data. That's because when you file your taxes, right, or your fiscal year, I should say the start of your fiscal year, whatever that is, because we want to have complete financials for whatever the tax year is that you're filing for, okay? Once it comes in, you'll have a rectangle for the new account. I also recommend putting the last 4 digits, so I can do edit account info on here, whatever those numbers are, right? So that you're crystal clear of what is what. It will pop up eventually. So let's see. Yeah, right. So that you're not making any assumptions, especially if you have multiple checking, multiple MasterCards, whatever. Then what you'll see below is here comes your bank feed, right? Here, this should look very similar to if you logged into your bank account, their feed. So on each of these, right, each transaction is giving you some details already, right? I have the bank detail. This is coming directly from my bank, right? It's QuickBooks is trying really hard with the AI. However, please don't have implicit trust with QuickBooks AI. I see it more than I fail to admit, right? They try and they fail, right? So make sure that you're always keeping eyes on your transactions. Don't trust QuickBooks implicitly. So you want to have your vendor and customer every single time. So this is books by Bessie, right? This is my accounting, right? This is bookkeeping. So you're going to choose your account. You can choose if you want to be really specific, right? You can choose to put in a memo, August bookkeeping. Not necessary, but you can, okay? And then we're going to click add. All right. Say that Books by Bessie is actually continued education, right? Maybe I went to the bookshop and I bought some books, right? I don't have continued education yet in my QuickBooks chart of accounts. I could add it at the top, right? Add new account. The same way that we were in our chart of accounts, right? Or you can choose to go back to your transactions, go to your chart of accounts and make it. But this is kind of a shortcut that as you get new accounts, as you get new expenses, new revenue, you're able to add it directly from your bank feed. So it saves you a little bit of time. The one other thing I want to show you is this categorization history button. This this is one of the best tools I think in QuickBooks. So something that's important when you're doing your bookkeeping, setting up your financial reporting, you want to make sure that you're consistent with, especially with your recurring sales, right? So or and expenses. So if Books by Bessie is accounting, right? I want to make sure that I put Books by Bessie in accounting every time, and maybe not legal and professional fees, right? Maybe I'm using those interchangeably. I shouldn't, right? So I can click on categorization history. And again, because we're in the test drive, it has no data in here, but it will show you what you've categorized Books by Bessie as in the past for the last 24 months. So then you can be consistent about making sure that your transactions go to the same place again and again and again and again. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to fool around with the bank feeds. Go ahead and check out what the MasterCard looks like. Go ahead and categorize some of these, see what happens, see how when you categorize this gets adjusted. Go ahead and fool around. And then I'm going to show you one more trick in this space. Brian, nope, nobody else can see what you're doing in your QuickBooks test drive. No pressure. I promise we're not trying to gather data from you or anything. I can't see what you're doing at all. Hope says, Hope, I'm glad that you're my guinea pig here. So she says, QuickBooks already started guessing categories and quite a few have been wrong. So it seems like I need to fix them at a transaction level so that I don't inadvertently delete a transaction. Again, right, with all AI models, the more that you do it, right, the more that you categorize Books by Bessie as accounting, they'll start to develop that remembrance. I'm actually going to teach you rules next. So that might be the best solution for you. All right. Mahasti, I believe that's how I pronounce your name. They ask, if my bank account is not included, can I add my bank account? Yes, most banks, even credit unions at this point, are incorporated with QuickBooks. So you should. At the worst case scenario, we can also download CSV files of your bank statements and then import them into QuickBooks. That's one of the ways to address that. Brian, let's see. Wendy asked, cheat sheet for QuickBooks. Yes, actually, I can give it to Lena and pass it on. Oh, another great question, Wendy. Wendy says, how can I record one bank transaction that contains 2 or 3 different categories? Yes, let me show you that. So let's say that A1 rental right here, right? This is an expense for a backhoe rental. However, I want to split this up between the labor costs, the equipment rental, and some supplies that I needed in order to have the rental. This button here, split, is going to help you to break up the transaction. So this is A1 rental, is the vendor, but this $1,200 is split up, right? This is split up between, let's see what they have here. Let's call it some installation costs, right? I had them come and it cost $200 for them to install it. Let's see what else we have. The actual equipment rental was $800, and I I dented the rental while I was using it, and I owe them another $200, right? And so now, again, I would probably use some descriptions here, but now I have split up that $1,200, and when I look at my reporting, $200 is going towards installation, $800 is going towards the actual rental, and $200 more is going to the repairs of the rental. Great question. Pilar asks about Lowe's commercial credit account. That's the bane of my existence. It does connect, but not well whatsoever, especially if you're trying to do it by customer basis, right? Like if you're trying to do job costing. So they said they've been working on it for like 9 months now, but it hasn't improved. But yes, it connects, but not well. Zari asks, is matching a transaction recording it as a duplicate or assigning the categories as the same? Yes. So what we're seeing here, right? When we see these matches, right? This is because, right, Hicks Hardware, this is because Craig has added a bill for Hicks Hardware, and this is the money coming out of the account, coming out of the checking account to physically pay it. So if you're going to be adding your bills, right, which we talk about in QuickBooks 201, and you can either pay them right directly through QuickBooks also, or write checks, right, which is what they're doing. When we record the bill in QuickBooks, we know that we owe $228 to Hicks Hardware. And then when the physical money comes out of the checking account, it's matching it. So it is not duplicating. When we match, that's what we want to do. You'll see this also pretty commonly with transfers. So say I transferred money from our checking to our saving. We want to set it up. Let's see. Let's pretend this is a transfer, right? I'm going to record it as a transfer to my savings. And I would click add. And then when I go to my savings, I will see the match, right? It'll say, is this a transfer from your checking to your savings? And you'll click, excuse me, match. Does that make sense? If you don't, I lost my hardware, my Hicks hardware, my two. And if you don't add your bills, then it will just look like this. Okay, it won't have anything to match to, and then you can just categorize it as it is. So you have options. It depends on how much you're going to be in QuickBooks and how up to date you want your books to be. Great. Okay, one more question from Wendy about the split function. This is good. So she wants to know, is it possible to create a split table such that I can refer back to it instead of needing to split it every time? So this is QuickBooks. You guys are asking great questions. This is QuickBooks 201. We're going to be talking about recurring transactions, and this is right here. You can get to it here. You can get to it over here. Recurring transactions is when you so like your monthly building lease, right? And you're spending $900 for the physical rent and maybe $20 for water and electricity. You can split up a recurring transaction, a recurring expense, and then when it comes through every month, you can just do that match that we just did, right? You're able to match it rather than having to split it every time. So that would be my recommendation for you. All right. One more item, right, that we can save you a lot of time is rules. Okay. So if I'm in here and I see A1 rental, and I know that for A1 rental, it is absolutely positively always an equipment rental, right? That's I never spend any money to A1 rental except for equipment rental. I can create a rule that is going to make it so that it categorizes it for me every time. So I'm saying that if money comes out of my checking account, I always click all bank accounts unless you have something very specific where it's going to different places at different times. And it uses the description of a rental, then I want you to assign it as an expense, an equipment rental, the payee's A1 rental. Here is something really important. So at the bottom, it says, should we auto add it? Auto add means that it is going to take the transaction and put it directly into your reporting. You're not going to see it on your bank feed on the page that we're on right now. Now, while in theory this sounds great, right? Like, oh, good, I don't need to have anything in my my bank feed. I can just go straight to my reporting. Again, we don't trust QuickBooks AI completely, right? We need to make sure we have eyes on it, even just for 1 second. So I recommend turning this off until you're sure that this is working accurately every time. So when I click save, now you can see that this is a rule, right? So now I can just click add and move on. Okay, that's great for things like software, right? Zoom is always software every single time. Great for QuickBooks, great for if you have a contractor that you pay and she or he is always a contract labor, right? Those are easy ones to just have and bam, 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 bam. You could also do it over here, right? Accept and move on. So again, trying to make it so that you all are not in QuickBooks all day, every day. We want to make this really efficient, but still really accurate. So go ahead and I'm going to give you 3 more minutes. Create a couple rules. Find something in the bank feed that you can make a rule for, right? How about Hicks Hardware? See if you can create a rule that puts Hicks Hardware in the right spot. Hope says, does it make sense to create a rule for all recurring transactions? I would say as long as they're going to the same place every single time, then yes, right? Why not? Here are some that don't work. I say Amazon, right? Amazon maybe 60% of the time is office expenses, but what about the 40% of the time that it's a continued education or software or small tools and equipment, right? Amazon can go a lot of different places. Also, like our example with the rent and utilities, I see often that you'll have a rent expense from your landlord and then also towards your landlord and then also a utilities expense, right? If we want to break up rent and utilities, then we would want to have 2 separate rules. Another option you have is you can do it by amount, right? So if the money out transaction equals $900 for rent, then it's a rent expense by whoever my Hall Properties, right? So there's so many different ways to get what you need done, right? Same with here, right? For your Amazon question, Hope, maybe you want to say if it's greater than $100, then or if it's less than $100, let's put it to office expenses. But if it's more, then it probably needs to go somewhere else. And then QuickBooks won't assign a rule to that. So lots of different ways. Again, some of this you'll figure out once you start doing your books on a monthly basis, right? You're going to make some adjustments. You'll see what you need. You'll see where your time is being sucked up. All right, 1 more minute.
I've seen this question twice. How to handle multi-currency transaction? Is there an exchange rate table that I can use to convert?
I don't know the answer to that one, Wendy. I'm going to copy your question. I haven't run into that. but I will get you an answer by the end of this week. Sound good? All right. All right, let's keep rolling. So, how's everyone feeling? Can you give me a response in the chat box? Are you feeling good? You're feeling okay. Fine. Oh gosh, dizzy. Sorry, Stephanie. No. Again, guys, this is meant to be a 2-hour like crash course, right? Use your resources, right? We can connect after the call to go slower with all of this information. I want you just to have a primer, right? To be able to know your way around and to be able to start to feel more confident with it. All right. Oh
And
gosh.
just to reiterate that if you do reach out to us, you can book a one-on-one with Jamie and she can walk you through at the speed that you like.
You guys are great. All right, let's keep rolling. So, what happens when we're in here, right? When we categorize these things, they are going to your reports, right? So, they go a lot of different places, honestly. So, if you make a mistake, like if we click like this right here on categorize income, that's not where that goes, right? Oh, crud. What am I going to do there? If you click on categorize, right, I can undo this so that it goes back, right? But you can see here's what I've categorized so far, okay? That's probably the easiest way if you make a mistake to get back to it. It also goes, so I'm gonna do accounting. It will also go, if I go to my chart of accounts and I search for accounting, right? And if I run this report, I can see it here, right? This just came in here. Looks like a refund. Okay. So now it's in this report also. So I can find it in my chart of accounts. I can find it in my bank fee and under categorized. But the most important place where we want it, right, is in our actual profit and loss or balance sheet. So your reports here, if we go to reports and standard reports, the amount of different reports that you can look at, if you're not overwhelmed yet with me, now you're going to be overwhelmed, right? So many different reports that you can be running to keep track of your business finances. QuickBooks is smart on this front. They're giving you what's important at your favorites, right? Your balance sheet, your profit and loss, your accounts receivable. I would say the number one most important report is your profit and loss. Okay, let's explore that first. So your profit and loss is truly the short-term health of your business, right? It starts with your income, all of our different income accounts, comes down to your cost of goods sold. If you're selling products, you get your gross profit, right? This is one of those numbers that we want to pay attention to. We want to make sure that our gross profit is 50% or less or more than what our total income, right? We don't want all of our money getting sucked up in our cost of goods sold. Then we come down to all of our operating expenses down here. And then finally, it's telling us our net income, right? This is our profit. Net income is profit. This number obviously is important to be looking at. We want you all to be profitable, running profitable businesses. If we see that that's in the negative for several months in a row, we need to make some adjustments, right? And so that's when we're going to be looking at this report to figure out, do we need to increase our revenue? Do we need to reduce our expenses? Where are we going to either cut or add to help make us more profitable? Okay. Another thing, right? Looking at this, honestly, to me, this seems a little bit clunky, right? He's got lots of like random small, like maintenance and repair has this sub account, but only one sub account, I would want to adjust this so that I have larger chunks, right? I think I would, as an A-type bookkeeper, I would want to have like my administrative all together, my job expenses all together, maybe my rent and my utilities all together, and have that be the three separate segments of my profit and loss so that I can really make those informed decisions. That being said, even just in your profit and loss report, you can adjust it in so many ways. So I'm going to click switch to classic view because I think this is the easiest way to make this adjustment. Actually, let me show you these though too. So over here, these are the new versions. So you can change your display to be by customers, employees, transaction dates. You can do lots of different customizations here. You can compare it to previous period. You can add, and again, right, he doesn't have this data in here because it's a test drive, but we can see the comparison here, right, of 2024 to 2025. You can do percentage change. You could do a lot of different calculations that could show you your data in a new or different way, right? So that you're able to say, whoa, like what's going on here? Why am I spending 50% of my expenses on advertising? That seems crazy, right? Or the opposite. Maybe I need to spend more money on advertising. But again, more different things, right? There's so many different ways to customize your report. What I find the biggest bang for my buck is if I switch this to classic view and then change my display columns by months. This is the report when I have a new client, this is the first thing I'm looking at with them is what is your trend month over month over month? And so here, right, I can see what did Craig do in July? He crushed it, right? He made a ton of money compared to the other months. What did we do in July that we can repeat in August, September, October? Again, looking at, we can still add our, you can customize in this old view too, to do comparing to other periods. What else do I want to do? Let's see. They've fiddled with some things here. But to be able to see, here we go. This is what I want. So compare another period showing percentages, showing actual cash compared to the previous year. You can really go nuts with the reporting. What I would say, start with your profit and loss, switch it to months, and see what's going on with your business finances. As that nerdy bookkeeper, I want you to move from having bookkeeping be a compliance-based task, right? Just to file your tax returns at the end of the year, to being something that you're looking at monthly so that you can make business decisions to make to make yourself more profitable, right? Whatever that means to you. More time freedom, more cash, whatever. All right. The other report, the other popular, pretty standard report is your balance sheet. So if profit and loss is your short-term health, right, your income minus your expenses, your balance sheet, this is more like your time capsule. This is your long-term health of your business. So again, if we think back to your chart of accounts, right, now we're talking about those other three account types. So we start with our assets, our checking, our savings, receivables, right? Incomes, invoices that are out that haven't been paid in yet. This to me, right? Knowing what I know about Craig's business, this is where I would be investigating what's going on. He's hardly making any cash, but he has $5,000 worth of receivables. I'd be calling his customers, right? Here's his truck. Then we have liabilities. He's got a $1,600 in bills, his credit card. This looks like a loan payable, right? So another loan. So he has two loans going on. This is a little concerning for me, right? Based on what his cash flow looks like. And then finally, his equity, the money that he's put in and taken out of his business. Okay. If you are, right, capital pathways, this is about one of the pillars here is getting loans or investments. Lenders are going to be looking closely at your balance sheet. They want to make sure that you have the cash to pay back their loan, right? And they want to make sure that you don't have all of these liabilities already adding up, right? Okay, go ahead and explore. You can explore the profit and loss and balance sheet. That's where I would honestly recommend you hang out. But you have a plethora of reports that you can look at, right? So if you know your way around a profit and loss, maybe check out a different report. Think about your business. Where do you have pain points right now that it would be uberly helpful for you to have a report you can pull up to reference every month, every week, whatever it is. If you click the star, that gets added up to your favorites too, to keep it a little bit more simple. Ooh, one other thing with me, right? I have my profit and loss. I'm switching to classic. I like it by months, year to date. You can save this customization. Save. And now I can just go to my custom reports and have what I want to be looking at every time. Okay. So if you want to get really customized, know that you can save that customization and return to it month after month, week after week, whatever you're looking at. All right, explore for 3 minutes.
Jamie, I see two questions in the chat. One of them was, are there any security concerns or precautions when we should take in linking bank accounts?
So QuickBooks is, I'm going to butcher the safety terms that they are, but they have the same level of clearance as most banks, most other invoicing bill pay softwares. So I have never seen anything in terms of fraud with QuickBooks related. It also is a one-way channel. So your bank information comes to QuickBooks. QuickBooks does not go to your bank. So there is that gate right there that they can't get into your bank. Your bank is sharing the information and really just those statements, the transaction, like a CSV file is really what is coming into the QuickBooks. But that being said, let me show you real quick. You can upload your information as a CSV as an option if you don't feel comfortable. So to do that, you would click on this gear icon, import data. We're going to say that we're going to bring in bank data, import. We're going to say it's to our checking, right? Because it's not linked. You would, oh, look at all my children. You would you would download the CSV file from your bank, right? And then you would upload it here. And then once it's in there, it will say like next, it will ask you to review everything. For that, you really want to make sure that expenses are negative and deposits are positive, right? That's a common error that QuickBooks makes. We want to make sure that happens. Otherwise, your books are going to get very wonky. And then it will come in just like this. And then you can just go down the list and categorize. So if you don't feel worried, if you do feel worried, that's an option. Again, I've been doing this for 5 years. I've never seen something like that happen. Let's see. All right. Anybody find any reporting that they're like, ooh, this is going to be a game changer for me? Also, if you have like larger customers, right? You can filter by customer to be able to see their spend with you over their lifetime or per year. You could also add the customer to certain expenses. So if you're in like the contracting space, my Lowe's person, you can attach when that comes in. Let me show you. If I'm in here, I can add the customer, right? So say Diego is the customer that I purchased this material for, right? And then this will, if I run a report for Diego, I can see all of the expenses I had along with all of the income that he's brought in to be able to kind of do the job costing. All right. So the last place we're going to go today is putting it all together, right? So you all, oh,
Sorry, Jamie.
yep,
There's
no, go for it.
one new question that came up. This might be a silly question. Why are the bank balance and QuickBooks amounts different, checkings and savings?
Yeah, Kim, great question. Um, that is something that I always tell people to keep an eye on, right? In theory, and we're actually going to solve this right now together, part of the month-end workflow. So in theory, what's in your bank should absolutely be in QuickBooks. And so if these aren't, if this green check mark means that I've categorized everything. So in theory, these should be the same. Here's when it doesn't work. So sometimes it will be off if something has linked, has been cleared in your bank and it hasn't been synced to QuickBooks yet. They'll be off, right? So if you have like a current transaction just on August 28th, right, this morning, your bank might already recognize it, but QuickBooks hasn't. Or the opposite, where something might have happened in QuickBooks. So like if you're using QuickBooks invoicing and someone pays you directly in QuickBooks, like through the payments link, and it doesn't get deposited into your bank account yet, right? In QuickBooks, they're going to recognize that sale as coming into your checking account, but your physical checking might not get it until the next day, right? Now, a couple of quick things that you can do. Make sure that you're always most up to date on this tab. So a good habit is to click this update button before you start categorizing to make sure everything's in here. But secondly, right, if this is here, something's going wrong. So we're going to talk about that in literally 1 minute, okay? So if we think about, as we're starting to like do a recap of what we learned today, right? Your job, your main job is to customize your chart of accounts, link your bank accounts, categorize all of your transactions, and then the last thing we're going to, well, then we're going to reconcile, and then we're going to look at reporting. Now, the last thing we haven't spoken about yet is reconciling, because this is something that is part of your monthly workflow. So if we think about our calendar, right, you all will be getting your bank statements in the next couple of days, right? They usually come in first, second, third of the month. Have that be your cue to log back into QuickBooks. And that's when we're going to be doing our workflow. Okay. So your monthly workflow is number one, clearing out all of your transactions out of your for review tab, right? All of these need a home before you can reconcile. Okay. So let's see. They're not going to let me do some of these because they have two matches. All right, so I'm gonna accept those. Again, this is wrong. I see lots of wrong stuff in here, but I'm just gonna show you match. It's the beauty of having a dummy account, right? Again, another one that's wrong. But everything is reviewed. Okay, I'm going to do that for the MasterCard too, but I'm not going to waste your time right now. Then I'm going to go to reconcile. Reconcile is a fancy word for making sure that what is in your bank matches what is in QuickBooks. Remember, QuickBooks is just a software. That's all it is. It's not an active bank for you, right? We can't verify that it's accurate. So we're going to click Get Started. Let's get reconciled. And here you're going to have your banks and your credit cards. So checking, savings, MasterCard. Oh, we didn't even see that Visa card. So we need to link that one too for him. Okay. So when your statement comes in, right, we're going to look at your statement. On your statement, you should have the beginning balance and the ending balance. Your beginning balance should be what is here, right? It should match. If it doesn't match, then we have a problem already. But in theory, it should match. And then we're going to put in the ending balance and the ending date. Okay. Obviously, I don't know what the real ending balance is. I'm just making something up. So I'm going to click Start Reconciling. This is QuickBooks. Oh gosh, this is QuickBooks. AI working again. To match up the different transactions. So you can see yours is going to look a lot cleaner than this. This is kind of a mess. But what they're trying to do is match everything up. You should see a $0 difference here and a green check mark. 99% of the time, it will work. If it doesn't, if you have something that says that you have a difference, that means that you need to go line by line and see what is missing, right? You will either have a duplicate, meaning that you've added something twice. So for example, with him adding like these bill payments, right? If we didn't match it, we would have two of these. We would have $300 for a bill payment, and then we would have $300, like this almost looks like that, right? $300 as an expense, which we don't want. We only want one. So for that case, we want to go back to our bank transactions, undo, and then match them together. Sometimes QuickBooks will unsync with your bank. So especially back to the beginning when they were like, I don't think QuickBooks syncs with my bank. If you have a really small bank, sometimes they'll get unlinked. If that happens, right, we're going to go back to that trusty plus new that we talked about at the very beginning, and we'll add in the expenses that aren't in QuickBooks. So expense, you would put in whoever you're paying, checking, payment date, meals, $10, save and close. And then I'd be able to find it here, click to get closer to the number I need. Okay. The reason this is different, right, is because I don't know what his ending balance is. Looks like this is actually the cleared balance that I need. So if I go like this, oops. Right? This is what I want to see. Check mark, $0 difference. That being said, all of these white lines, this is concerning for me, right? This tells me that these are all things that have not cleared the bank. And so if these are voided at this point, right, I need to void these checks. Maybe this actually never got paid, right? I'm going to want to edit and delete this transaction. You should have it so that like this, here's another example. This looks like sloppy, right? This to me as a bookkeeper tells me that he put this in without putting in the right total, right? This looks like it should be an 8, and then those would have matched. All right, I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here, but this is when you kind of have to be that investigator. But if you do it right from the get-go, you will have a nice, easy situation where all of these will be checked over here, and you can do finish now. Once you do finish now, you're good to go. Okay. You've reconciled this account. That means that for the month of August, everything matches. You can see it here. When I go to my September statement, this will be my beginning balance. I'll put in my ending balance and move on from there. Okay. Once I reconcile, so first I categorize in my bank transactions, then I reconcile my checking, savings, credit card, and then I'm going to look at my reports, right? I would say try to look at your profit and loss sheet monthly, balance sheet. You could, depending on what your loan situation looks like, maybe quarterly. Okay, if you don't have very many loans and credit cards, you could probably let that be. But if you're in a little bit of a crisis situation where you have a lot of loans, a lot of credit cards, cash flow is something that's concerning to you, then you want to be looking at that more frequently. Okay, that is the basics of QuickBooks Online. That is what your monthly workflow should look like. Again, if you choose to join me, I think it's in October, we're going to do QuickBooks 201, where we're going to talk about a lot of the more complicated things that you might need, like recurring transactions, invoicing, bill pay, payroll, sales tax, items like that. All right, Lena, are we ready to open it up to any other questions?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
All right.
There is one person saying, can one manually add all their startup expenses transactions before a business account was set up?
Great question, Malik. So before you have, so back to check the reconciliation, right? We never want to add things to your checking, your savings, your credit card accounts that didn't actually happen, right? So if you had startup costs, right, from a personal card, that's when you're going to want to do a journal entry. So you're going to do plus new journal entry, right? Let's say this was from last year. You might have your own account name for startup costs. It looks like they don't. You can add it, right? If you had a lot of startup costs, they don't have any of the ones I want. But we could have, right? Let's say license, right? So I had my $100 registration. I had my $144 Squarespace, right? Whatever, $38 for QuickBooks before I got my business account. And then you'll put it, they don't have it here, but you'll put that as an owner's investment. All right. So that is an asset, equity account. It is, your little head is always in my way. An owner's equity. And then you'll just click save. And what this is doing is it's moving these. I would also put be very clear startup expense for each of these. Okay. Because, right, we don't have the paper trail that we had in your bank account. So also adding your receipt directly here, just making sure that you're checking all the boxes because yes, we do want to have this data in your QuickBooks file. All right, you can change your journal name to 2024 startup, right? That looks pretty clear. So you can do something like that, an itemized amount, how much you invested, add your expenses. Add your receipts, sorry. Let's see, Hope said, you may have said this, the start date of the statement. Yes, so when you're reconciling, it's all based on your statement. So for checking and savings, it's almost always the last day of the month, right? For credit cards, you'll want to check that could be any time of the month. Though I do say, right, sometimes it's nice to adjust, call your credit card companies and see if you can have your ending date be the last day of the month, the beginning of the month, so that you can do it all at the same time. Also, make sure that you have really accurate books for the previous month rather than having half of the month reconciled and half of it not. Let's see.
Where do you add personal vehicle use expenses since they won't be included on a credit card or bank account as a journal entry as well?
Great question, Rachel. So, um, when you think about this is a common misconception. When you think about mileage, right? Mileage is a business, a tax deduction. So that's something that gets removed from um, your taxable liability, your tax liability. So you don't necessarily need it in QuickBooks unless you want it. You can add it, right, as another journal entry and do your mileage payout, right, whatever that is, towards an owner's draw, right? That's money that you should be taking out. Of your business, right? Or you could physically pay yourself. So honestly, that's what I do at the end of the year. I cut myself a check for the mileage, and then I have it as a draw as mileage at the end of the year. So you have a couple of options. QuickBooks also has a mileage app that syncs to QuickBooks, so that's another option you have. Um, Really, you just want to make sure that you have good records for that too, right? What date did you go to where, for what purpose? Yeah.
Do either of you provide accountant referrals by chance? Can I email you separately for that? Yes, we offer uh, accountant referrals depending on where you're based. Feel free to email me separately for that. Or we can also do an intake call and see if you have any other business needs, and um, uh, we can send you a few resources.
And so Pilar, great question. So he or she asks, what is the difference between creating a journal entry and creating a new expense? So for expenses, we must be using one of these payment accounts, right? So this is you can't do an owner's investment here. That's not an option, right? It has to either be an asset or credit card or a bank. Excuse me. With the journal entry, you have a lot more flexibility, right? Like I could even move money from an income account to an expense account. All that being said, right, it's a lot easier to make a mess of your books by doing journal entries, because further debits and credits, while it seems obvious, is definitely not, because debits raise raise amounts for some accounts and lower accounts for other account lower amounts for other accounts. So you just want to make sure that when you are in your journal entries, to go and check out your reporting to make sure that um, it's it's a positive or a negative, right? We want to make sure that that's accurate. A good rule of thumb is that expenses are always debits, right? So if you're spending money, you want that to be a debit account. And that's when you'll most often use it. You can also Google debits and credits cheat sheet, and there are tons of little charts to make sure that you're putting it in the right spot. Journal entries. Another time you'll do this is to close out your equity for the year. So because your owner's equity and owner's investment, owner's draw is on your balance sheet, they don't automatically reset at the start of the year the way that a profit and loss, we just run it for the year, right? We run it for year to date and we can see everything that happened in 2025. When we look at our balance sheet, these numbers, and I don't think he even has money. Yeah, he doesn't even have, but these numbers will just keep accruing. Let's see. This is only 4th 2025, like this is all we have for data, but it will keep accruing year over year over year unless you do a journal entry like he's done here to reduce it. All right. If you are working with a tax preparer or a CPA, you can ask them to close out your equity accounts for you. It takes 1 minute. So it's a quick ask if you're feeling overwhelmed about your equity accounts. But yeah, don't get too click happy with the journal entries.
I would like to ask if you submitted a question and we were not able to answer it, this would be your time to ask it again. And we apologize if we missed something. I see also Kim is raising her hand or his hand. You can put in the chat any questions you may have. I don't think,
Uh,
oh, oh, it's a mistake. All right. Um, so
and know that you're not alone if you're overwhelmed, right? It is complicated. My true advice to you is figure out what you actually need in QuickBooks and customize your QuickBooks experience so that that's all you truly see, right? Keep that tunnel vision because again, QuickBooks is trying to cater to all business owners, not you as an individual business owner. So take what you need and try to remove the rest from your QuickBooks experience.
we have another question. Sorry, could you please explain where and how to record mileage again?
Yes. So we want to use the actual amount, right? Not the amount of miles you drive because mileage is not currency. And so you'll want to do the math of what the current rate is and the amount of miles you've gone, and you can do it two different ways. So you can have your business checking cut you a check, right? And we can put it towards mileage. However, people often just want the deduction, right? It's not necessary to take the money out of your account. So you can number one, just keep track of it outside and it's just something that you would want to tell your accountant, your CPA, your tax preparer, or if you're using TurboTax, it's a question they ask. Or you can also do a journal entry that says that mileage, you removed that money, right? So you would debit it if it was $100. And then your second account would be as an owner's draw saying that you would be paying yourself that money, right? Because you're taking it out of your business. Does that make sense, Wendy?
And what is the IRS acceptable rate per mile?
I, I
Is
think
it the GSA?
I think it might be up to 60 cents. I don't, let me see. Mileage rate 2025. 70 cents for business use. So we're up there.
I will include the GSA website that includes it there. If use of privately owned automobile is authorized or if no government furnished automobile is authorized and available. Rate per mile, 70 cents.
Gabriella, you ask a good question, right? So tips should be separate, right? That's not a main source of revenue for you, and presumably. So with especially, I'm making the assumption also that you might be using a different point of sale than QuickBooks, like Square, Shopify, Toast, whatever. You want to create a other income account called tips. And that will make the tips income fall towards the bottom of your profit and loss so that it doesn't distract from the top of your primary sources of income. With that being said, when you get paid through Square, Stripe, Shopify, whatever, what they pay you, right, is not your true revenue. And so that's where we want to use the split feature again to split up that deposit into your actual sales, your sales tax that you might have collected, your tips, your Square fees. Maybe you have a Square loan that they're taking money out from, right? That's when we want to be turning those funds into the true revenue and expenses. Um, Also, we didn't touch upon this at all, you can integrate most point of sale softwares with QuickBooks. That being said, please, please, please look at it closely of where everything is getting coded before you click OK. Again, QuickBooks is trying to be very smart and might be choosing the wrong accounts where it is coding all of those transactions. So you just want to take your time when you're setting up these integrations, because I make a lot of money every year fixing these integrations because they do the wrong things. So please, please, please take your time if you do integrate. You can also just manually split. Honestly, with my bookkeeping firm, we split everything manually because we run into so many issues with the integrations.
So we have another question. Can Jamie provide one-on-one for a nonprofit? I know our program can do nonprofit. I don't know, Jamie, if you would be comfortable with.
Yeah, I work with a lot of nonprofits.
Great,
If that's fine with Lena, that's fine with me.
great.
So Wendy says, is tips not count as part of revenue in the profit and loss? So it does, right? In the big picture, it does. However, tips are not your primary revenue, right? So if you're at a restaurant, tips should be a pass-through sort of income, right? You receive those tips and then they should zero out with the tips that you're providing to your employees. And so we want to make sure that that is very separate so that we see that those tips came in, those tips came out. Yeah. Wendy, do you want to tell me about what your business is, if that would be something different? Like I'm thinking about maybe like a tattoo artist who's a solopreneur that also receives tips. We just want it to be, for good record keeping and for good financial analysis, we would want to not be using tip income as something that we analyze in terms of assuming the money that we're going to be making this year in tips is the same as last year. As it's not true like a service or a product. Does that make sense? Um, I'm not sure, Wendy, I'm not sure what you mean by that follow-up. Yes, Alessia, I'm going to write down cheat sheet to Lena. All right. Gabriella says, for Craig's dummy account, his income showed his jobs for his landscape business. I have a salon, so do I categorize income based on client or per type of service? Um, I'm not the holder of all answers, Gabriella, but to me, I would definitely do per type of service, right? I think it would be much better data to be able to see the money you're bringing in for cuts versus colors versus formal. Um, that's what I would want to know, right? Like in terms of filing your taxes, it's all the same, so that doesn't matter. I would think about what you care to pull out of your data. Yes. So when Wendy's follow up about the whole tip situation, she says, do I need to book tips under revenue account and book payments of tips as a pass through and the expenses in the P&L? Yes. So we should see, right? You should see your tips as their own income, other income account. And then you should see employee tips as an expense that's going to the payroll of your staff. All right. I'm happy to hang out here. If you have more questions, but I hope that everyone got everything that they needed to at least get started with QuickBooks Online. Again, watch the video, and I like someone's idea of like pausing me, testing it out more thoroughly, pressing play, and going from there. I think that's a great idea. And again, use this wonderful free resource. I'm happy to get on calls with all of you to help you set up these systems. There's tons of videos online. QuickBooks has tons of articles, videos, resources. Another perk is that when you first set up your QuickBooks account, you have access to a free QuickBooks expert for the first month. And so I highly recommend that you try to get set up as much as you can within that first month, and then get on the call with the expert and have them look it over to tell you if anything looks wonky that needs adjusting. It's a great intro onboarding offering that they provide.
I see someone asked for Jamie's email. If you reach out to the website that I provided in the beginning or my email, we will definitely connect you to Jamie.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great end of your week.
And thank you, Jamie. That was a great presentation, and I'm sure it helped a lot of our participants here. And we will be holding more of these webinars. If you are interested in the QuickBooks 201 or just attending this one again next month, we'll be having another session just to, after you've seen the recording, gone through this, and doing it again, I'm sure it can stick more the information. And or you can reach out and we'll connect you to Jamie for a more individualized one-on-one experience at your own pace. All right, Jamie, thank you so much. And thank you everyone that attended. Um, I don't think there are any more questions, so I think we can call it a day. Have a great rest of your days, everyone. You will be receiving a recording afterwards via email. All right, and the slides. Goodbye.